If your fish looked perfect yesterday and died today, that wasn't bad luck. It was the last good day it was ever going to have. Stick around and maybe subscribe so I can keep feeding my son, because this is where aquariums lie to you. Looking healthy is often the final warning. Let's start right off with the illusion of stability, alright? Aquariums are incredible liars. They'll look you dead in the eye with crystal clear water, fish doing laps like they're training for something, and a filter humming along like it's proud of itself. The tank is basically giving you a thumbs up while quietly loosening the bolts. This is where people confuse nothing is on fire with everything is fine. Stability isn't comfort, it's tolerance. And tolerance shrinks without asking permission. Oxygen still moves through the system, just closer to the line. Waste still gets processed, but with less slack. The biofilter still works, it's just tired. Like it's doing the job, but updating its resume. And the fish won't tell you. They can't. Any animal that looks weak in nature becomes a group project for predators. So fish evolve to act normal right up until normal costs too much. What you're seeing isn't health. It's the aquarium equivalent of a folding chair holding a grown man because no one sat down too fast yet. The tank hasn't failed, it's just run out of forgiveness. Survival mode looks like energy. This is the part that tricks almost everyone. A stressed fish doesn't always slow down. Sometimes it actually speeds up. I'm talking more movement, harder feeding, snappier turns. Color pops because blood flow is being shoved toward the surface. Breathing gets faster, muscles stay engaged. It looks motivated. What you're actually watching is a body hitting the emergency switch and pretending it's fine with the noise. Stress chemistry pushes metabolism higher. Everything costs more oxygen, but the system delivering that oxygen hasn't improved, especially if the gills have been quietly irritated by ammonia or nitrite for days and weeks. Gas exchange gets less efficient right when demand spikes, so the fish has to compensate. It swims more to move more water. It breathes faster to pull what it can. It burns energy to keep the lights on. None of that is extra strength. It's just a short-term strategy to avoid complete collapse. That's why active gets misread as healthy. The effort is visible, but the damage isn't always. From the outside, it looks like energy, but from the inside, it's a sprint being run on a narrowing track. And sprints always end the same way when there's nowhere left to go. The long delay between cause and death. Okay, most fish don't die from the thing that you're blaming right now. They die from something that already stopped happening. The damage starts small. I'm talking repeated irritation that thickens gill tissue, protective mucus that builds up where it shouldn't have to, so oxygen still gets through, just less cleanly. The fish adjusts to this by breathing faster, moving more. It raises its metabolism output to cover the loss. It works well enough that nothing looks wrong right away. But at the same time, the immune system starts missing shots. Not failing outright, just hesitating. Chronic stress keeps it busy, managing chemistry instead of defense. Minor infections are gonna linger, so healing slows down. Energy that used to go toward maintenance gets rerouted toward survival. This doesn't explode, it accumulates. The original strain fades into the background. A feeding period ends, a filter settles back in, the tank looks stable again, so everyone relaxes. But the fish never resets. By the time the body finally gives out, the cause is already gone, which is why death feels unprovoked, like it came out of nowhere, like the tank flipped a coin. It didn't. The timeline just finished after you stopped watching the beginning. Okay, here's why death feels sudden even when it isn't. Collapse feels dramatic because everything before it was boring. Once a fish is living near its survival margin though, there's no cushion left. No soft landing. No, we'll deal with that later fund. Every normal activity costs more oxygen than the body can comfortably afford. Digestion, swimming, existing while being a fish, that's a real resource hog. The gills are already doing overtime. The metabolism is already running hot, so when demand nudges up even a little bit, I'm talking after a meal, during activity from mild stress, the math stops working. And fish are terrible at math under pressure. They don't slow down gracefully. There's no dimmer switch. Compensation holds, and then drops everything like it remembered it left the stove on at home. Systems fail together, respiration can't keep up, oxygen delivery falls behind demand. The body doesn't get to negotiate. That's why you hear, it was swimming fine this morning. Yeah, because it was flooring the gas pedal with the check engine light taped over. The last burst of energy wasn't recovery. It was peak output, maximum hormone push. The biological equivalent of a printer making horrible noises right before it dies forever. Nothing new happened at the end. The margin just hit 0, and 0 is a very unforgiving number. Here's the part everybody gets wrong, including me, okay? I used to blame the moment everything went sideways. The day I found the fish, the water change that suddenly looked suspicious, or that one decision I replayed like it was a security camera angle. It felt logical. Something happened, then the fish died. Case closed, roll credits. Except aquariums don't respect that kind of storytelling. I was treating deaths like jump scares instead of slow burn horror movies, waiting for the loud noise, ignoring the creaking floorboards, and complaining when the chair breaks because it worked 5 minutes ago. What I had wrong was timing. I assumed failure happened where I could see it. In reality, though, the system already lost the argument earlier, when everything still looked calm enough to trust. Once that clicked, it died out of nowhere, started sounding a lot like I wasn't looking when it mattered. Now, I didn't love that realization, and you won't either. It meant you can't just blame a single action and move on. It meant the tank was lying to us politely, and I was thanking it for the courtesy. Turns out the mistake wasn't doing one thing wrong, it was believing the aquarium when it said everything was fine. Okay, this is the stage where recovery is still possible. There's a stretch of time where the ending isn't decided yet for a fish. It doesn't announce itself, it doesn't send a letter, it just quietly exists and then leaves without saying goodbye. Before collapse, what keeps fish alive isn't perfection, it's slack, breathing room. The ability to absorb a bad day without immediately filing for bankruptcy. Fish that aren't constantly compensating can take a hit and recover. Fish that are running hot, though, can't. They're spending tomorrow's oxygen today. Every small demand pulls from a reserve that isn't refilling fast enough. This is why one tank survives something obviously stupid and another collapses from what looks like absolutely nothing. The difference isn't luck, it's how much margin was left when the stress shows up. Real health looks boring. No frantic movement, no constant adjustment, no background effort just to stay upright. Nothing impressive enough to comment on, which makes it hard to respect. Everyone wants visible proof. Fish don't provide receipts though. They just stop needing them until they suddenly do. By the time stress becomes visible, the window is already closing, and aquariums are not known for reopening windows once they decide they're done with fresh air. Here's what you don't want to hear. This is why stopping death is the wrong goal. This is where everyone wants a lever, a button, a move that fixes it. But here's the bad news. Aquariums don't have buttons, they have momentum. You don't stop fish from dying by reacting harder at the end. You stop it by keeping them out of the sprint in the first place. Death shows up late. Prevention happens quietly and earlier, when nothing feels urgent enough to deserve your attention. What actually keeps fish alive is having that margin, space between demand and capacity, oxygen that isn't being fully spent, immune systems that aren't already busy putting out background fires, and a body that isn't forced to choose which systems get to work today. The moment a fish is compensating on any of these, like breathing faster, moving more, burning energy just to look normal, you're already past the point where dramatic action helps. That's not the time to fix things. That's the time the bill shows up. Stopping death looks boring. It looks like nothing happened. No heroic interventions, no sudden reversals, just a system that never asked the fish to run at full throttle for weeks straight. People hate this answer because it doesn't feel like control. There's no big moment where you swoop in and save the day. The fish survives because it never needed saving, which is extremely unsatisfying but very effective. But these are things you can do right now when your fish are declining. Plain actions, no theory. You can increase the oxygen immediately by doing things like raising filter output or adding an air stone. You can stop feeding for several days. Do nothing else first. No food means lower waste, lower oxygen demand, and less metabolic stress. Fish tolerate hunger far better than unstable chemistry. You can stabilize temperature and then leave it alone. Lock the heater setting and stop chasing numbers. Fluctuation is worse than being a little off, and consistency reduces stress hormones faster than adjustment. You can do one gentle water change, then pause. So small to moderate, match temperature, and no deep cleaning. Improve conditions once without resetting biology, then let the system settle instead of stacking fixes. And the final main thing you can do here is stop cleaning your filters and substrate entirely. Right now, bacteria are doing damage control. Removing them feels productive and makes things worse. Leave the system intact so it can recover oxygen and waste processing capacity. None of these are magic, they don't reverse damage, they just stop the situation from getting more expensive biologically. And whether they work depends on something that already happened earlier, which is exactly why this usually leads straight into this video, which you should watch next. It's the aquarium mistake you can't undo. I'm Art Gills, and I'll see you in the next one.